This is Scott Ward. He's one of the region's largest activists for socialism, and this is me confronting him on his beliefs. PSL is the Party of Socialism and Liberation, and we have a branch in Spokane that is led by Scott Ward. They organize protests like ICE out of Spokane and US out of Venezuela. This is the protest that I ended up going to. We got there a little bit late, so I didn't actually get to go to the protest. This is what it looked like, and this is how I confronted him. What's up, guys? We are right now heading into the anti-ICE, anti-war on Venezuela protest. So I'm going to be filming the whole thing. We're going to be doing some interviews and then the city hall meeting. So we're going to see how this goes. Let's go. Hey, excuse me, guys. I was just kind of like wondering, like, what's going on down here? Like, what's all this about? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Thank you, guys. Okay, thank you so much. So I just went over and I just asked those people like what they're protesting, like what's going on, and they couldn't even tell me what's going on. So it's kind of, they told me I had to talk to somebody else. So I'm a little confused right now. But yeah, I'm waiting to talk to this guy. He's on a news interview right now, and we're gonna go talk to him. It's gonna be interesting. Apparently, he's the Party of Socialist and Liberation leader here in Spokane, Washington. So this is gonna be interesting. Let's go. Okay. So I'm here with, my name is Scott Ward. Nice to meet you. So you're here with the Party of Socialism and Liberation.
Yeah, Party for Socialism and Liberation. Yep.
Okay. So I was just kind of like wondering like what was going on down here tonight. Like what was happening? What was kind of, just give me like the rundown, like what happened tonight.
Yeah, so we're mobilizing in response to the violence that ICE has been doing to communities across the country. Minneapolis, you might have heard,
Right.
Renee Nicole Good was brutally executed. She wasn't a threat to anybody. She wasn't armed. She wasn't attacking anyone, and she was killed by ICE agents in cold blood. And there's 2 people shot in Portland after that. There's a man who was murdered in Chicago by ICE earlier, back in September. And beyond that, just like the amount of disruption with these deportations. I mean, I'm a teacher, and a student from my school was deported this summer. And a hardworking young man, worked multiple jobs, just trying to make it.
Was he in the country illegally?
He was in the country as a refugee, and he was deported. So
Was he here legally?
he was as a refugee, which there is refugee status is legal, and he was a child refugee, which is supposed to be protected, but he was deported anyway.
After further research, I realized that people with refugee status can be deported, according to a lot of legal websites such as Legal Clarity and others. So you mentioned Renee Good, which obviously like tragic, like death, everything. But do you not think that like she kind of like put it upon herself with the way that she acted with her car and the way that her wife acted towards the ICE agents? I don't know if you've seen the body cam footage.
Yeah, I've seen the
not.
footage. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think she wasn't a threat to anyone. I mean, she was driving away from the situation. These ICE agents were heavily armed. She was not. There was no reason to pull the trigger and kill her.
You don't think that she was like trying to cause harm to the ICE agents?
Absolutely
You think that
not. She was driving away. Yeah.
Renee Good's situation was a tragedy, but the way that her wife was aggravating the ICE officers and the way that she weaponized her vehicle towards a federal agent ended up in her getting shot. After the news reports have been saying that the ICE officer has suffered internal bleeding. And the woman clearly says, drive.
Right. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. And so, what we're looking at here is this, billions of dollars of funding into ICE, and also to, this illegal war on Venezuela.
The U.S. did have a warrant for Nicolas Maduro's arrest, making the arrest and war not illegal.
This is a sovereign country. Imagine if here in the United States, your neighborhood was bombed, your civilian neighborhood was bombed, and your elected leader was kidnapped, all to try to steal American oil.
Did you know that the Biden administration actually tried to do the same thing?
Oh yeah, and I'm against that too. Yeah, Biden, Obama, against all of that. Right. It's nonsense. It's terrible.
Absolutely.
Like the sanctions, the blockade against the people of Venezuela has crushed their economy. Why are there millions of people immigrating from Venezuela? Because of the sanctions leveled by Obama, by Biden, by Trump. And so instead of just leaving these people alone and letting them live their lives like we would want to live our lives, right? Like we don't want other countries to dictate our society, right? Why should we be able to steal oil and and murder 100 people in airstrikes. Um, just because our billionaire oil executives, want to profit, right? I mean, if Russia tried to do that to us, I don't think we'd accept that, right? And so, yeah, so that's what we were here doing. We were just calling attention to, the fact that we spend billions and hundreds of billions, almost $1 trillion a year, on violence abroad and violence at home with ICE agent violence. And we don't have affordable health care in this country. People go into medical bankruptcy. We don't have affordable housing. People go into debt for going to college. Other countries, you go to college, it's paid for, it's free. It's a right. And so, we have, if you drive around Spokane, you'll see a lot of people suffering. If you drive, especially if you go up over on Second Avenue or whatever, you'll see people in crisis, right? And that's largely because our community's needs are not funded. Whereas other countries around the world, they get their health care paid for.
And
so, yeah.
So you're an advocate for socialism, I'm guessing?
I'm an advocate for a system in which the working people are in power and run the society to meet their needs. So healthcare is human right, education, food, housing is human right, rather than a system in which billionaires and corporations, run the society for their profit and power at the expense of everyone else.
Right.
So that system that I just described, that's capitalism. The system that I described earlier, that's socialism. So that's,
right. Socialism has been tried many, many times all across the world, and every single time it's failed. That's why I'm such an advocate for capitalism and anti-socialism, because I don't want that to happen in the United States.
that's what I'm
Absolutely. So,
yep.
You mentioned like the people that are living in poverty and misery here, but what about the people in Venezuela that like celebrated? And then also because in the 1990s and 1980s, when Venezuela was run by capitalism, it was the third wealthiest country in the world, and now that it's run by socialism, it has become one of the poorest and most miserable countries to live in.
So a lot of that was actually incorrect. So a couple things here. One, there were some people who were celebrating in Venezuela, but
I don't know about you, but it looks like there's more than just a few people celebrating. This was a worldwide celebration of Maduro's capture, and I think that people are really happy that the socialist communist regime is gone. It was hundreds.
But the masses, if you follow independent media in Latin America, you'll see that actually hundreds of thousands and millions of people have taken the streets in Venezuela in defense of the Bolivarian revolution, in defense of their sovereignty, in defense of their independence, and are not celebrating these strikes. They're actually calling for Maduro to be returned.
After I looked up the website that he kept referring to, I couldn't find anything on Venezuela or Nicolas Maduro.
And actually, before Venezuela was socialist, it was actually all their resources were being stolen and siphoned by U.S. oil executives. So the people of Venezuela were actually quite poor, and actually when they took over, their standard of living started to rise significantly because they invested those oil profits into their people, into education, into housing, into healthcare. But the sanctions is what crushed their economy. That is why they are poor, because U.S. sanctions makes it so that they can't utilize their resources in trade with other countries around the world.
Just about every single sanction on Venezuela is for anti-terrorism, not to mention that the U.S. sends $211 million every
and
single year.
Same with Cuba. Cuba was actually the most affluent country in Latin America during the 70s and 80s. And then once the Soviet Union fell, then U.S. sanctions, the U.S. blockade was able to strangle the country, and so now they're really suffering. But even with that, their life expectancy is nearly as high as the U.S., despite being far poorer. They also produce the most doctors per capita in the world, and they also have the most women inventors per capita in the world too. So their education and healthcare systems is really impressive. So all that despite being, suffocated intentionally by U.S. sanctions. So if socialism doesn't work, then the U.S. should leave it alone. Let's see how Venezuela would do without sanctions and a blockade. Let's see how Cuba would do without sanctions and blockade. But I gotta go inside and testify.
Okay.
So I appreciate.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, take care.
After this, we attended the city hall meeting where they were trying to cut off the $1 million from the DOJ to the Spokane Police Department. What's up, guys? Little post-game interview. We didn't get to a lot of interviews today because, it was pretty quiet in City Hall. You can't really start talking to people like super loud or else you get kicked out. And I did not feel like sitting there for another 2 hours waiting for City Hall to get over. Because we did get to the protest a little bit late. There was a protest earlier. We didn't fully get there on time, but we did get there for the city council meeting. And then I did get to talk to the leader of the Party of Socialism and Liberation, which, remember, socialism is terrible. Socialism sucks. yeah, it was a lot of fun, guys. Love you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Your grace, unshakable.